Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Trump, NATO, and Voice of America. Two Trump decisions about foreign policy have come into the news cycle, and they're both worth mentioning in a little bit of depth to show exactly how, let's just call it improvisational, his foreign policy has become. Let's start with Trump's NATO math. Surprisingly, Trump math doesn't math here either. So, the President of the United States, who by default has long been looked at as the head of NATO, told other NATO countries they needed to devote 5% of their GDP to defense. First, 5% on defense is a ridiculous amount. The U.S., with its massively bloated defense budget that gives it the first and second most powerful air forces in the world, only spends 3.4%. Only Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have actually committed to 5%. And geopolitically, it makes sense. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are in a precarious position, and Poland knows they'll have to hold the line by themselves for a bit in the event of a Russian advance. Does this mean the U.S. will spend 5% under Trump? No, of course not. Apparently, Trump's demand of 5% only applies to NATO countries. If that sentence confuses you, imagine how the rest of NATO feels. Then when Trump was asked about whether the U.S. would spend 5%, he said, quote, "I don't think we should, but I think they should." Okay, that's a wildly inconsistent position to take, but it's Trump. Nothing really stays consistent. But then it just got weird. He went on to complain that the U.S. had been supporting NATO a long time. Then he said, quote, "So I don't think we should, but I think that the NATO countries should absolutely." What? What does that even mean? He thinks that the NATO countries should absolutely. Does he not know? He honestly seems unaware that the U.S. is a NATO country. I'm sure Trump's statement is going to sit just fine with the rest of NATO. No cause for concern there. Then, in another wildly inconsistent move, Trump is firing almost the entire Voice of America staff. I know, you're thinking, but Belle, that can't be true. He just had to bring the Persian service of VOA back on and ordered them to report immediately for duty. I know, we covered that. But more than 600 employees were fired on Friday. That only leaves about 15% of the staff left. And the Persian service? Yeah, some of them got fired too. In fact, rumor mill says a few people from the Persian service had their badges snatched when they came back from a break on Friday. Losing VOA will harm American soft power immensely. The outlet is about advancing American interests. If the U.S. isn't doing it with soft power and influence, it will end up doing it through hard power. Trump's foreign policy is definitely going through a rough patch right now. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.